it is my pleasure now to be joined by Vick Ballard, someone that I remember as being an Indianapolis Colt great. Vick, how are you doing today, man?
Doing pretty well, all things considered.
It's been a strange year. Hopefully we're getting ready to turn the page a little bit and get out of this, what I would kind of call a dark time. But from what I could see, you're a student though. So someone that was, obviously a student, right, to get to the pros. You're back at school now. So if you don't mind to jump with, what's life been like, recently for you, and what are you doing?
Uh, I guess when you say like recently, do you mean like in the past couple of years or the past year? Like what's the time? What's the time frame? Because
Let's go 3 years, because you know what, you got to figure some things out, right? So I'm sure you didn't just wake up a year ago and have it all,
oh
mapped
no,
out. So
oh
yeah,
no.
take it back.
Okay, I'll go back to whenever whenever I decided I'm gonna walk away from the game. It was a tough decision, and even when I decided I was gonna walk away, meant like I said I was done, but I really wasn't done because like 2 months later, when I made a decision, I had got a call for a workout, and I went. And I was out of shape. Didn't need to be there, but I went anyway. But luckily for me, that was my last workout, so I was able to actually focus on moving forward. And after that, basically, I just started the journey of trying to figure out what's my next steps. And I try not to stay still, just try to keep trying new things and see what stick. And
Well,
go ahead.
like better than me, right? I mean, it's not like it's a switch you flip where, okay, it's off, I'm done. It's just like it's this transition where it takes a little bit of time for you to really be like, okay, like I am actually ready for the next step. So you're just like a month or two into that journey of being like, no, I'm no longer a player, and you get that phone call, right? I mean,
Yeah,
you're gonna be revved back up.
right. And that's exactly what happened. Like I said, I told myself that I was done, but as soon as my agent called me and said, "Hey, this team want to bring you in," I was on the plane the next day. But like I alluded to, luckily that was my last one because like I was able to actually focus on moving forward after that because I said I was done, but I really wasn't. So
No, I hate to jump right into it, but how hard was it for you to? I mean, obviously, it wasn't hard for you to take that workout, right? Because you were there the next day.
right,
But
exactly.
that mindset, having battled back from two, pretty tough injuries, to still want to fight and still think that you can fight. I mean, that it's not like it was just broken finger. You came back from some gnarly stuff to be able to be in a position to compete again. How, after two back-to-back years of having your season cut short, you know how geared up were you to still make a run at it? Was there any doubt? Like, what was that? How did you really turn the page and be like, I'm ready to walk away?
Uh, it was tough, man, because I've always been, I guess considered an underdog. So to me, it kind of fit my narrative. It's like I always had to overcome something to get to the top of the mountain. So for me, it was just another walk in the park. And but for it not to turn out, me on top of another mountain, it kind of crushed me. But it also gave me in a weird way, it gave me confidence, man. It's like it's hard to it's hard to explain because um yeah, I guess you could say I was one of those people that was scared to fail, because I was so used to, like I say, being behind and coming out on top. And I, not necessarily saying I failed, but it's like the I didn't get the outcome that I wanted, but the person I became in the process, it made me more confident in whatever endeavor I was going to, take on next. So I guess it was a silver lining, in it, but part of me was still pretty devastated.
I think, without trying to get too corny here, I think the saying is, the journey is the destination, right? I
Yeah.
mean, it's like what you did to get there. It didn't matter if the Cinderella story was there in the end or not. It was the fact
Mhm.
that you grinded it out that made you who you are.
Exactly. And like I said, I tell my girlfriend all the time, it's it was tough, no doubt, but the person who I became, to try to fight and claw back, I value that person. I value those qualities that I gained more than actual, being able to get back out there and play football.
And I want to talk a little bit more about what that process was like. But before we jumped on here, you were telling me about how you were working at the fellowship for the trust. just a few months back. So what was it, just having just said what your process was like and what that grind is, what was it like for you to be able to be talking to other former players and I'm sure having a very similar type of conversation about what their process was like?
It was cool because, actually, I was, I guess, I had kind of went through that mourning process of, not being able to play football. So I was a little further ahead than some of the guys who was coming into the building. And I was also in a position to help. So, for many different reasons, it was, like I said, it was kind of therapeutic for me because, I'm able to reach back and, tell somebody about my experiences and at the same time get them connected to resources to help them further advance their life and figure out what they want to do next.
And to kind of take this full circle to where we started about you being a student, how much easier was it for you to digest it? Maybe in a sense, move past the morning part and into the like optimistic about the next phase when
Mm.
you said, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I now have something to go chase. I mean, was that a real turning point?
Yeah, yeah, it definitely was, but it took a mindset shift, because the way I looked at it was, okay, football wasn't the ultimate goal in my life. It's like I can take the principles of success and the things I learned from football and apply those to the next thing, whatever else I decide to do in my life. So it was, to me, it was like, okay, I'm done with step one. Now all the things I learned from step one and apply them to step two to get to step three. So, like I said, having that mindset shift at looking, a lot of football players, they look at the end of their career as the end, and I looked at it as a new beginning. So, like I said, just reshaping or reframing the end, and like I said, along with the things I learned, it helped me tremendously.
So when you talk to other guys, I mean, do you find that most guys really just see football as the end, or do you find that there's a good number of guys that are more conscious about trying to figure out what is next?
Um, it's you definitely have guys that's always thinking, two steps ahead. But for I would say the majority, a lot, they're not thinking ahead. They thinking about tomorrow. And trying to either stay on the roster or get on the roster. And I really thinking short term. I'm not sure what the reason for that is, but you definitely have a lot of guys that think like that.
So something you just said a minute ago, right? Of just, football gave you all these tools to
Mhm.
know how to succeed. That's really what I love getting into. So, before I start to frame it by asking anything in particular, from just like a high level, what is it about you, your football experience, being a pro athlete that you think best enabled you to succeed with whatever you decide to put your mind to?
Mm. I would definitely say the adversity, just being in positions where I had to overcome something, and when I did overcome it, that confidence it gave me, because like I said, that confidence carries over into life, and whatever else I decide to do, it's like, okay, I've been in positions of disadvantage before, and I worked my way through it, so this is no different.
So when you say adversity, like an obvious example of that, right, is coming back from an ACL, battling
Right.
back from the Achilles. Is it
Mhm.
just when you say adversity, do you think mostly about overcoming injuries or what other types
No,
of
no,
adversity?
just any type of adversity. It could be during the game. You're 21 points down at halftime. It can be, in your position group. You're third string, but you want to be the starter. There's so many different places where you face some type to make it to the top of that hill. I look at that as overcoming adversity.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of like the football, to me, it's a bit of a dichotomy because on one end, it's you had to battle through the injury, you have
Mhm.
to get from third string to first. But when it comes to all right, the team's down 21 nothing.
Mhm.
That's a team effort. So,
Definitely.
when it comes to thinking about success from a larger perspective of not just yourself,
Mhm.
whether it's the Colts, whether it's something that you picked up along the way from JUCO or Mississippi State, what, how do you, in your opinion, right? What did you see that the best teams had? Why was it that some groups can find a way to gut it out outside of talent, and why others just, couldn't do it?
Uh, no, I really can't say. Sometimes it takes that, that leader in the locker room to refocus everybody, to get everybody aligned. Um, Sometimes, it's just the culture, for whatever reason, my rookie year in Indy, we had great coaches and everybody. And, we also had great leaders. But for some reason, I felt like we were always playing from behind. And we won a lot of games in the fourth quarter. So a lot of times it was just, the way the team was put together, conscience. We knew that we was going to fight and claw to the clock strike zero. And a lot of times we came out on top. So it can be a lot of different things, man. But I would definitely say it's a mental makeup, whether it be the individual or the collective team. It's definitely the mental makeup of the group.
Yeah, and you came to Indy at a really interesting time, right? Because they
Mhm.
had just tanked specifically for this guy named Andrew Luck,
Right.
and in the process, though, that draft class brought on some pretty good talent. I mean,
But
between you, T.Y. Hilton, Fleener, Dwayne, just absolutely loaded the first 5 rounds, 6 rounds.
mhm,
you know, at the same time, though, there's guys like Reggie Wayne, Dwight
mhm.
Freeney, that there's holdovers of the Peyton Manning era that are still there. How much did, this team that you just said was kind of always coming back from behind? How much did those guys really matter to kind of bring some guidance, that Super Bowl, pedigree to, hey guys, like we got this.
They have been battle tested, and they knew the ropes. They knew how things went and how things can get better or worse, depending on the situation. As for the rookies, we were all, deer in headlights. We was just trying to, do our job. So they definitely did a good job of, I would say, keeping us on course and making sure we had the right mindset going into the game and during the game also.
So do you attribute like anyone, I know I just threw a couple names out there, but do you attribute any like particular coach or particular players that really like when you were a rookie and just trying to get your feet underneath you to being someone that really helped, whether it was you specifically or the team, just keep it
Mhm.
all together and focus?
Um, every like those names you just mentioned, I feel like all of them added, something. They all had something different to add to the team. But the one who stuck out the most to me was probably Robert Mathis. He was the most vocal, and whenever he talked, you knew that he had a message and it was going to hit home. To this media, and it's like, yes, like it's like I felt that, it's like I he's a great guy and even better teammate.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I know I kind of focused a little bit right now on the NFL part of your life, but
Mhm.
I'd really, I love guys that go to JUCO because there's just something different about the guys that didn't know what they were going to do and they had to go to JUCO, grind it out, and see what the offers were, as opposed to that 4-star, 5-star guy that it was all set before they were like 17 years old.
Right.
So what was your process like to get to Mississippi Gulf Coast and have to really earn everyone's attention? Because, by the way, you go and set a number of records there.
Man, I was just telling somebody about this story last night, matter of fact. So, I'm gonna start my 11th grade year of high school. Really, all through my whole high school career, really, I was a backup basically. So it was another guy in front of me. But my senior year, my coach, he just had to find a way to put me on the field. So that put me in slot receiver. So I actually played like a slot receiver slash running back type position my senior year, and made the All Star game as as a slot receiver. So I guess I don't know. I guess they consider me an athlete or whatever,
Yeah.
and I was kind of they consider me also a late bloomer. But even despite all that, I still managed to get a scholarship from the University of Houston. And in 2008, I think Art Browse was the coach back then, and that coaching staff got fired. So when that coaching staff got fired, I lost my scholarship. So but I always had the scholarship to the junior college, and so I was thinking, worst case scenario, I go to JUCO, and actually on signing day, I signed with my junior college. But later on that day, a school named Jackson State University, it's a HBCU in Mississippi. they called and said that they had a full ride for me. So I'm like, man, it was kind of great, but you know, uh, I was excited, but I wasn't at the same time because I didn't mention that probably a week before I had took a official visit to Arkansas because like one of my teammates had sent his highlight tape to Arkansas and they saw me on his highlight tape, so they wanted me to come out and whatever. But so I'm looking at Arkansas, looking at the amenity thing, the field, looking at all, and this a year right after it was Darren McFadden's last year. So I'm just looking at all this shiny stuff. So I'm like this, and Jackson State didn't fit that mold. So that's why I couldn't really get excited about it. Fast forward, I signed a scholarship, but like I said, I could never get excited to go. So eventually, I just told my pops. So he was a little heated at the moment because I was passing up a full ride for a partial. Actually, I had a partial scholarship to the junior college. So I took a partial scholarship to a JUCO over a university, and then I got the JUCO. They put me in fullback. So it was like I go from playing wide receiver to fullback. So I just faced a lot of crap, and I was a second string fullback at that. So it wasn't like I was a starting fullback, but they put me in for like short yardage situations, and whenever they were giving the ball, I would take it 50, 60 yards. So I ended up leading the team in touchdowns my freshman year. And my sophomore year, they put me a running back, and I broke all the records and everything, and ended up getting the attention of Mississippi State, and that's how things went from me.
You did okay at Mississippi State, though.
Yeah. I mean, hey, it wasn't. I feel like any athlete, they always wish they can go back and do better. But I'm definitely proud of the things I was able to accomplish.
But I mean, you played for 2 years, and like you're still right up at the tops with all time guys that spent 4 years at the school. So the fact that you're still like 15th in rushing yards, and you had was it 19 touchdowns in 1 year?
Actually, I had 20. I had 20 total touchdowns, but I had 19 rushing touchdowns.
So I mean, what was it? You literally go from not having a position in high school to second string fullback in JUCO. You finally get a chance and you bust out, but then like you up the level of competition and you're still on a completely different level. Like what was that like for you to be able to get your shot? You prove it, but then you continue to stay on top. There's no taking a step back. Did your approach change at all during that 4-year period?
No, not at all. It's I guess it's kind of part of my genetic makeup. It's I guess success is relative. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you think you're at the top of one mountain, and in reality, you got a whole nother mountain to climb. So I guess me always looking ahead and always looking to get better, and looking at the people in front of me, or like even if it's not on the same team, like looking at the Alabama running backs or the Arkansas running backs. What are they doing? What are their stats look like? How can I make my stats look better than theirs? Just always trying to climb some type of mountain, to improve myself, improve my game, improve just all around. Like, how can I get better?
And you make the jump to the NFL, and again, great success your rookie year. So when you have that mindset, and now you're going on like a 4-year run of really tearing it up. I mean, how do you, not to take it back to a low of the injury, but how do you then sort of be like, listen, I finally have been showing everyone that I got what it takes, and then all of a sudden, just like that, you're just like, well, I got to battle back from this. How did you just deal with having a completely different battle put on your plate than I'm sure the battle you thought that you were going to be fighting?
Yeah, as you mentioned, it was a completely different battle, but at the end, so it's like, how do you win battles? You just head on, do what you got to do. So this is how I looked at it, and like I said, fought back from one, fought back from the ACL, turn around. So I got to keep my hard hat on. Fought back from that as much as I could. But eventually, things catch up with you. So the outcome, it is what it is. But I didn't look at it any different than any other battle I faced in life. It's like you put your head down and go to work.
Yeah, I mean that's really all you can do, right? I mean, it's either that or run away. So it's, and I think you see that sometimes, so that there are guys that don't want to fight, and you hate to see that, because that's eventually they're waving the white flag. It's over. Once you lose the will to fight, then that's it. You're done. Did you ever see guys like actually, maybe not as dramatic as I might have painted it, but like, did you see guys kind of check out like that, and watch guys' careers sort of end because they lost that edge?
All the time, man. All the time. Playing football is, or anything really, competitive. If you have a coach, they're gonna push you to your limits. They're gonna try to see where your limits are. And unfortunately, a lot of guys, their limits were really low. So you see a lot of guys quit. You see a lot of guys cry, complain, and whatever a lot of times those guys, uh, they don't make it far in football. And you know, if you want to, speak plainly, I don't believe they make it far in life because a lot of the things that we face in football are similar to the things that happen in life in principle. So it's like if you quit on something that's hard in football, it's a good chance you might quit on something that's hard in life. So that's just how I look at it.
Oh yeah, everything translates. Like
Yeah.
literally everything always translates. Dan Orlovsky once said that a high school coach said to him, "How you do anything is how you do everything." And he talked about how Peyton Manning's approach to the
Exactly.
game was, what he did there is how he was all the time. That's your mark. It's however you approach fixing your toilet is just like how you would approach, learning, the playbook and getting ready for next week's game.
Exactly. I got another one to add too is however you do the small things is the same way you do the big things. So I mean it's essentially saying the same thing, but just worded differently.
Yeah, it's a matter of perspective, though. Like that, the monumental tasks shouldn't be more or less important than the smaller ones, because everything kind of stacks.
Exactly.
Now, you talked to, you mentioned that coaches push you, and they kind of find those points. But one thing about Indy, is Chuck Pagano really in his time there became a fairly beloved figure.
Mhm.
And I know that a lot of that has to do with his battle with cancer, and he got probably a lot of positivity around him because of that. And I absolutely wish him the best. I'm just saying that when you take that part away and you just look at his approach to the game, what did you take away for why he was a good coach and what made him successful?
I think he listened to the players' concern, and they brought that concern to him. I don't feel like he was like larger than life coach. There's some coaches out there that are kind of unapproachable, but I never got that vibe from him. He was super family oriented. That's the way he wanted the team to be. Ursay was the same way. That was just the culture of Indianapolis, and I can't say it was just one thing. Just him as a person. Yes, like you said, he had his battle with cancer. So that he won a lot of people over with that. But just him as a person, he was a genuinely good coach. Even after I got released from Indy, we stayed in contact for a little bit because he knew the things that I was facing, and for that, I appreciate it.
It's awesome. I mean, there's really nothing more important than actually being a good person outside of being a good professional.
Exactly.
But when you look at your two OCs that you had while you were in Indy,
Mhm.
Bruce Arians, Pep Hamilton, two great football technicians in their own right.
Right.
Um, when you start to look at different personalities and approaches to the game, I mean, how do they compare against one another, but what did you see? Like, what stuck out to you about them and what they brought to the table that made them great?
Two different philosophies, in the style of offense, I would say, but um, they were different in that way, but they were the same in the way that it's like they were black and white. It's like you didn't really have to guess with them. It's like you kind of knew where you stood with them. I was, BA was the reason I remember randomly I went to the restroom and he just so happened and he was like, "Hey, I hope you learn your playbook because I'm thinking about giving you some more playing time." So, and probably 2 weeks after that, I was starting. So, um, And Pep, Pep was a cool guy, man. Like I said, you knew where you stood with him. Um, I remember, I vividly remember it was a play. A receiver like ran the route. He ran the route okay, but he dropped the ball, right? And Pep said, "Oh, that's okay. We're gonna have somebody in on Sunday that'll catch the ball." He said it so nonchalantly. So he said it so nonchalantly. So it's like I don't know if the guy that dropped the ball heard him or not, but that's the type of coach he was. It's like he wasn't trying to like you know crap on him or nothing like that, but he can't do nothing but respect that.
Oh, absolutely. No, and I've heard a lot of guys talk about Bill Belichick the same way, where
Yeah.
you always know where you stand. And as long as, like, if you're in his doghouse, but you know why you're there, then you can at least
Mhm.
respect that, that there's it's
Right.
black and white, like you said, and that I think it just puts people at ease to like
Mhm.
have that level of transparency.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah. He was definitely that way, and like I said, I appreciate it.
well, Vic, as we get close to wrapping up here, going back to you being a student,
Mhm.
obviously there's still things that you're working on. So even though you may not know what type of engineering you want to do a couple of years from now, when you think of the fact that you have like 3/4 of your life left to still live, what are your thoughts about taking that success and stuff that you've been able to accomplish and applying it elsewhere? What are some of the goals and, bigger dreams that you have bouncing through your head now?
So I'm in school for mechanical engineering right now, but for obviously my first goal is to graduate. After that, finding a job somewhere and potentially maybe running my own show one day. The type of person I am, it's like I need something. I need it, to work towards. So, just having a job is not enough for me. It's like I need I get I tell my friends the other night, I'm gonna need something else to stress me out at night, like something else to stress me out at night, that helps me get through life. So I don't know, the sky's the limit, man. It's like I'm optimistic about the future. I'm optimistic because, like I said, of all the things that I was able to learn from football, and we'll see where my cards lay. So
Like you said, the sky's the limit, man. It's
yeah,
really as big as you want to make it. And I have no doubt. Can't wait to see where the road leads. But before you get out of here, man, I got to ask you to run through the gauntlet one last time. I got a
let's
couple
do it.
quick hitter questions for you, man. So from the
Yeah.
jump, what's most important? Is it having the number one offense or the number one defense?
Uh, I would say the number one defense. And me being an offensive guy, I say the number one defense because I hate close games, man. It's like, I mean, I know you still need an offense, you know, has a shutout or, low scoring game, it takes pressure off the offense. And the only reason I say that is because when I was in JUCO, uh, my team scored 75, well, in our state championship game, we scored 75 points and lost. No, 71 points. We scored 71 points and lost in regulation, no overtime.
That's insane.
So, so if we had any kind of defense, we would have won.
Give the NFL 10 more years, and those are the scores you're going to be seeing at the rate we're
Oh
going.
man, they stressed. That was the most stressful game I ever had, man.
Now, favorite football memory?
Favorite football memory. I would have to say I was a senior in high school, and we was playing our crosstown rivals, and we were losing the whole game pretty much, and it was 4th and 23, and my coach called a punt. We was punting the ball away. We was going, to basically lose the game because it was like a minute and something left on the clock, and the other team called a timeout because they thought that we was going to go for it. And when they called a timeout, my coach changed his mind. He was like, "Hey, we're going to go for it." So when he, basically called my number on 4th and 23, I caught the ball, had like a 70-some-yard touchdown, and the touchdown put us ahead to win the game. So I would definitely say that memory because just the dramatic fashion in the way we was who we had never beat before. So that was a special memory.
Nice. Yeah, love that. Now, what's most important? Is it the players or is it the scheme?
Uh, I would say players. I feel like they both equally as important, man. I can't put one over the other because you have some players that thrive in certain schemes and can't play. But it's like I feel like as a coach, your scheme should fit your players. So
Definitely.
it needs to match. So that's a tough one, man.
Logan Paulson, who played on a number of teams, but notably on the Redskins, he said to me that Sean McVay told him that on each team, there's only 3 to 5 players that can play on absolutely any team in the NFL. Scheme doesn't matter.
Mhm.
Everyone underneath them, it's specific to the scheme.
Yeah, I mean
And I
that's
thought,
true.
damn, that makes sense.
It's true, and it's something. I think. Hold on, wait, is that what team is he for again?
He's the Rams coach right now, but he was the offensive coordinator for the Washington football team back when Logan was playing.
Okay, was it back around like 2012, 13? Well, RG3 was there. Or am I?
Yeah, there was an
So
overlap.
it's crazy that you mention him because like I always felt like his scheme, like the players that were in his scheme wasn't as good as they will be in another scheme. It's crazy that you said that because I definitely remember that name. But yeah, like I said, some players thrive in the other schemes and they can't survive in other schemes. It's kind of like Alfred Morris. Alfred Morris, not to crap on Alfred Morris. Good, great football player, but he had like 1,500 yards his rookie year, and the next year he had probably another 1,000-yard season. Um, the Redskins, switch offensive coordinators, and you kind of never really heard from him again. Was it the scheme or was he just not getting opportunities? I don't know. A lot of people think he wasn't that great. It was just a scheme. So
It's an
uh,
age-old question that will never be answered. But yeah, it's interesting to pick apart.
yeah.
Well, lastly, man, I think it's the most important thing I could ask you. Just given everything that you've gone through as an athlete, what's the best piece of advice that you would give to a young kid?
Young kid, I would say don't be a football player. Be a no, let me rephrase that. Yeah, don't be a football player. Be somebody that plays football. So it basically means like don't let your identity get caught up in being a football player because it's not forever.
Absolutely. I've heard I think this makes a lot of sense, is just use football as a vehicle for you to get to where you want to be.
Exactly, exactly. Unfortunately, a lot of players don't look at it that way, whether it's due to immaturity or just don't have the right information or the people that surround them to be able to use it that way. But I definitely wish that that's something I would have took more advantage of, the connections and things like that I had when I was playing.
Well, Vic, I can't thank you enough for taking the time today, man. I really appreciate it. As we close out here, where can everyone keep up with you and follow what you're doing?
I mean, social media. I got Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. All of them are my handles are my names. So Vick Ballard. Not hard to find, but I don't post much. So, but if you want to connect, send me a message. I'll write you back.
There you have it. Well,
Yeah,
Vic, thanks again, man. Really appreciate it and best wishes.
I appreciate it, man.